Welcome to the Promethean Podcast, a recap and review of the latest Promethean newspaper at the University of Wisconsin-Superior. The Promethean is now 104 years old. I'm your co-host, Norah Schmitz.
And I'm the other co-host for this program, Lily Hanson. The March issue highlighted the soul food dinner at UWS and cultural night on campus. We'll have more about that later in the broadcast.
On February 25th, the Black Student Union hosted its long-running soul food dinner in the Yellow Jacket Union Great Room. This event was held in celebration of Black History Month, Black history, culture, and food. The president of BSU gave a historical presentation, a culture fashion show, and special guests and live music.
Weather conditions caused damage to sidewalks all over the UW Superior campus. Because of this damage, the UWS student government mentioned that the cracks and damaged slabs of the sidewalk could cause injury to the students and other people who visit campus. The city plans to pay for the damaged sidewalks, and detours will be cited and announced.
Arriving this summer is a catamaran-style research and educational vessel. Starting in the 2024 fall semester, the ship will host both education and research voyages in western parts of Lake Superior, the Superior Harbor, and the St. Louis River. The ship is known as Sadie Ann, named after Sadie Ann Swenson of the Swenson Family Foundation, who is helping fund this program.
The UWS campus Recreation and Fitness hosted their first poker walk, hosted at the MWC on February 22nd. Nick Donahue, the director of Campus Rec, explained how this event is a great way for students to stay fit and come together. It was also held to celebrate National Recreation Day. With the participation of 21 students, Donahue was pleased with the turnout and plans to host more Campus Rec events in the future.
The University of Wisconsin-Superior's Yellow Jacket Activities Club has been there this spring semester. YAC is a student-run department that plans events that all UWS students can participate in. Some of the events that YAC has put on include mug painting, Build-A-Buddy, and goat yoga. To find more information on future YAC events, visit the UWS campus website.
Anchor Bar is a nautical-themed bar located on the north end of Tower Avenue. At the bar, they offer cheap meals and music, which helps build a college student environment. A burger and fries at the bar can cost less than $10, which is super affordable at this time. The food was good quality and came out fast.
Fast fashion retailers such as Shein and Temu have gained popularity in the online shopping community. Both companies have had a big presence on the social media app TikTok, as well as partnering with influencers to help spread their brand across the world. With these items being fast fashion, by throwing them out, it harms the environment and decimates resources that are already in short supply.
A new student-led organization was created called the Creative Writing Collaboration, and the first meeting was held on February 16th. The club was created by a UWS senior named Daniel Dow, who is an online student. It is open to all students, faculty, staff, and even UWS alumni. In their first meeting, which was held via team meetings, they discussed AI and how it is used in creative writing. They will continue monthly meetings with a different topic discussed in each meeting.
Trio Student Support Services is ready to help any UW student in need. If you are first generation, those below federal income guidelines, and those registered with disability services, they can help. Trio is a federally funded program aimed to help students of lower economic stature succeed in college. For students to keep their Trio qualifications, they must remain a 2.0 GPA.
Both men and women's basketball punched their way into the UMAC postseason tournament. The women's team hosted the UMAC championship at home versus Minnesota Morris. After a hard-fought battle with the teams going back and forth, Minnesota Morris ended up taking the championship 69-60, claiming a spot in the NCAA tournament. On the men's side, they faced the defending UMAC champs Bethany Lutheran. The game was close going into the second half, and both teams fought hard, but the Vikings kept their lead and won the game 77-58.
UW Superior hosted the 2024 Upper Midwest Athletic Indoor Track and Field Championship on February 23rd and 24th. Both the men's and women's teams took first place at the meet. The Yellow Jackets had 16 personal records set at that meet.
On February 10th, the women's track and field team broke the 4x1600 meter relay that has been held since 2018. They even crushed the record, breaking it by a minute and a half. Coach Glenn Drexler was very proud of the group for not only beating the record, but for the time they ran. The relay group included Simone Steffens, Cora Hudella, Hallie Barker, Taya Borner.
Ben Casper, the head athletic trainer at UWS, took a new role this semester. He's teaching an Introduction to Sports and Exercise Medicine course. With this new role, Casper gets to continue helping Yellow Jackets by teaching them about a topic he knows so well.
For the first time in school history, UWS esports team is competing at the collegiate level. The team is currently in the process of renovating the new gaming lab, but has been competing in the meantime. Out of the 48 teams competing, UWS remains undefeated against teams like UW Whitewater and UW Green Bay. The goal of the team is to win games while also creating a healthy team environment.
February 19th through 23rd was Indigenous Storytelling Week at UWS. There were 2 events held on campus, including Ojibwe Storytelling Night, held on Tuesday, February 20th, and History of Indigenous Peoples on February 22nd. If students missed the storytelling events, there are more coming up this spring on April 3rd from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m.
UW Superior has a large population of international students and has the biggest percentage of international students out of all University of Wisconsin campuses. National flags are flown in the Yellow Jacket Union to represent the nations of the students. The Indigenous Cultures Resource Center at UWS offers a variety of cultural events like celebration of Indigenous Peoples Day, traditional storytelling nights, and beading circles.
The story we will highlight today is Cultural Night with Dillion Krisik, president of the Native Nations Student Organization at UWS. Dillion is the Native Nations Student Organization president, the Student Government Association Diversity Liaison, Indigenous Cultures Resource Center student mentor and success coach, Trio McNair Scholar, and has an undergraduate degree majoring in Broadfield Social Studies with a history concentration.
So, Dillion, being the Native Nations Student Organization president, what does that mean to you?
Well, my role as president, the way I look at it is my job is to spread cultural awareness about my culture, but also just Indigenous cultures in general. So the student organization is mainly composed of members of the Ojibwe tribe. So a lot of the events and programming tends to be Ojibwe-centric. So my job is to spread awareness about our culture, other Indigenous cultures, to create a more welcoming environment for those groups.
So you have a lot of titles under your name. You're involved in a lot of things. How did you, because you're a senior this year, how did you get involved with all these organizations?
I kept saying yes. The one thing I've been trying to learn how to do better is when to say no. When these opportunities come up, I just kept agreeing to them, and eventually they kept accumulating to the point where I am now. And those things that you see on that list over there, I am still involved with all the time.
Wow.
And that is also not everything as well.
How many more things are you involved with on campus?
Only other thing I'd like to highlight that isn't on there is I'm actually a committee member for a university committee on campus called the Diversity and Inclusive Excellence Committee. So I'm the only student representative on that committee, and I'm just sitting there with full-time faculty members such as the provost.
Wow. So being a part of the Indigenous Cultures Research Center and the center hosting recent events, are there any events that are coming up that you're looking forward to?
Yeah. So upcoming events for the student organization would be our annual powwow trip. So this started when I became president, actually, because what the organization had done before my time was to go to the Wisconsin Indian Education Association conference. And we didn't get enough student involvement for that. No one really seemed interested. There were some, but it wasn't enough for us to spend the resources to go down there. So what we decided to do instead was to re-gear what we wanted to do, and we figured, why don't we just take students to a powwow? Because our university used to hold a powwow and host one, but it doesn't anymore. So we figured, let's just go find another one. And our upcoming event is April 19th to the 21st, and we're taking 14 individuals, 12 students, 2 faculty, and we're going to a powwow in Marquette, Michigan.
Very cool. Wow. Okay, so doing some research, I found some information about the medicine wheel on campus and found it interesting. I was just wondering if you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, so the medicine wheel is a general overview. It's a big symbol among many indigenous tribes in the United States and Canada, but in an Ojibwe context, it's used predominantly as like a teaching tool and a representation of many things. So in that medicine wheel, there's 4 quadrants. 4 is a number that appears in many, many teachings in Ojibwe culture. There's 4 sacred medicines. There's 4 directions. There's 4 hills of life, we call them. For this, for that. There's many things that are represented in that wheel, and it's a big, big teaching tool that we use to teach our children and other generations. But in the UWS context, that wheel is meant to be a permanent kind of representation of the university's commitment to working with indigenous communities on this campus.
So, you're a senior, like I said before. How has UWS impacted you?
Greatly. I came from a very small rural town. I went to school in Bayfield, Wisconsin, where I graduated with a quote-unquote big class of 29 students. People say there's rural, but then I say there's reservation rural, where it's even more so. I grew up in a very small community, not many resources to see. We had to travel maybe 40 minutes just to go to a movie theater, and the same distance to go to the Walmart or a big grocery store like that. So I never thought I would be able to have opportunities such as the ones you see on that list there, but being able to go to UWS, those came upon me, and I was fortunate enough to accept them.
So with all of your titles here, I see that you are a student mentor and success coach. Obviously, you have left your mark on campus. You have been doing a lot for indigenous culture and everything. What are some things that, you are teaching these students being a mentor and a success coach?
Well, the main thing would be incoming students, when they come into the university, they're trying to find a safe space. So a lot of students, they're kind of running around scared, confused, like, oh no, where's my next class? Oh no, how do I deal with this? Oh, I have to pay for my bill. All of these stressors that are in our lives. And my goal, being in that position at the Resource Center, is to provide a welcoming and safe space for those students. But the thing I want to say is it's not limited just to indigenous students. If anybody comes in that center, I'm going to help them nevertheless, in the same way I would help an indigenous student, a non-indigenous student, etc. So that center and that role I'm in, I want to help people and help students predominantly.
So, you mentioned that your brother is on campus. What's it been like having a sibling to go through college with?
Well, initially, to put it lightly, I thought it was a little annoying. I love my brother, but the first time he was on campus, you remember how I mentioned I loved helping students and things like that? I've realized the limits of that when your brother calls you every hour on his first year on campus saying, Dylan, where's my next class? And I'm like, I don't even know what your next class is. So I had to sit there, hold his hand a little bit. He doesn't like to say that or acknowledge that, but I had to help him. The rewarding part of that was being able to see him grow as an individual, to come from that same background as me, and to take on these other leadership opportunities in these big roles, such as when he spoke at Culture Night.
Is there anything else that you want to mention that we haven't talked about?
Not really. Yeah, unless you have any other questions,
Thank you, Dylan, for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Dylan, for coming onto this podcast with us. I really enjoyed learning more about you and about everything you do on campus, because you do a lot. For more on these stories, visit our website, uws-promethean.com. I'm Norah Schmitz.
And I'm Lily Hanson.